We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
everything theater. Hi, gang. I'm Benita Zahn.
I'm Ellen Cribbs, and we are deep into play season. Before we introduce our guests, I have to commend Benita on a beautiful production of The Roommate at Albany Civic Theater, which this is the last weekend, correct?
Yes, it is, and it has been a joy. I mean, to direct Tanya Gorlow and Kathleen Carey is just been wonderful, and the tech crew has been fabulous. Everything about it. I haven't performed at Albany Civic in years. There's a joke, the pictures in the, and the lobby area is a woman and her hair color, because it's many years. But I haven't been back, and to be back as a director with this piece, we're doing The Roommate, with this cast and this crew has just been a labor of love. I also have to give a special shout out to Don Paul Shannon, my assistant director. It's the third show we've worked on together. Anybody's looking for a good assistant director, don't steal them from me. But it's been great. It really has been great.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ellen. Thank you.
And I'm also going to throw out my, I've got a show opening. The Da Vinci Code opens this weekend at Curtain Call. We run for 3 weeks and talking about a team coming together. It is a show unlike any you'll see. It's got projections.
The pictures
and
look fabulous.
Yeah. And just coming off tech, like we got all these cool projections and it's got a whole soundtrack to it. It's very exciting. So please come out. We're there till March 15th.
And there's so much to see just across the Twin Bridges. It's an oldie, a goodie, and as somebody, I think it was Patrick White wrote, that it's a pity that it's still important. And we are talking about The Crucible, directed by Toni Anderson-Sommo. And we've got two of her lead actors, Matthew Crowley, who plays John Proctor, and Bridget Dunigan, who plays Elizabeth Proctor. And welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Toni, I know, because we're friends. I'm a little backstage. Toni's been wanting to do this for years.
Oh.
Not only is she an English teacher, but a director and very involved in theater. Toni, give us your 411 why you felt it was so important to do this.
Well, I'm trying not to be very political, but obviously it's so very prescient and relevant to what's going on in our society today. In my director's notes, I said, I really feel like not since the McCarthy trials has this been, there's so much overlap historically and socially with what's going on and politically what's going on. So when the opportunity came up, of course, I have always wanted to do this, and I've taught the show now going on 38 years. This year, I walked into Granville High School as a mentoring English teacher for some new teachers. And one of the first things we did was I said, we're teaching the Crucible, and it's a wonderful way to begin the school year. And I was excited because obviously I knew I was going to be directing it. But as we began reading it, I was almost haunted by how relevant it was. So, and I think my cast feels it too.
You can jump in at any time. We didn't tell you. This is, once you throw out the first question, which is like the first pitch at the ball game, you guys just jump right in. We have the conversation. You don't have to go through us. And, Bridget, I know that you love working with Toni.
Oh, I do. Yeah. I can't even count what number show this is. Us working together in some capacity.
What about why this show? Why now?
For me, this Elizabeth Proctor is probably on the bucket list of a lot of actresses that I know. So this one has been high up on my list. So when this opportunity presented itself, I definitely was not going to miss it. And, there's always that feeling your friend is directing. You don't want to be seen as getting preferential treatment. And Toni was very clear, like, hey, like, please audition for me, but I'm keeping all of my avenues open, keeping all of my options open. So come in, do what you will. So I did, but was lucky enough to get this role. But for me, it's so rewarding to really dive into a character that's very grounded, and it's a heftier role than what I've done in the past few years, at least. So it's been nice to kind of stretch those muscles again.
And Benita, I've cast her in all kinds of, as I've cast you in all kinds of shows. I know what my actresses that I love are capable of doing, and I love giving them that challenge. And she's done some really comedic roles, and she's done romantic roles. But and I was really a little nervous when she decided to come out and said she preferred Elizabeth Proctor. And I have to say that as soon as she and Matt started reading for the parts, it was, that kind of light bulb moment where, oh my God, these two have to be my Elizabeth and my John. So they were probably the two that I cast first, and I kind of built the rest of my cast around them.
I have to wonder though, Matt, I said at the beginning, this is an oldie and avant-garde and new and pushing the limits and the boundaries. That's kind of the way things are these days. So why go old school?
Why?
It's my dog in the background if you hear it.
Oh, that's okay. I assumed it was the dog and not your husband, but but I mean the reason that I came out for this, I haven't done a play in over 10 years. I'll be honest, it was very practical reasons why I decided to go out for this. I saw the casting call for it. I saw Toni's name attached to it. Toni actually directed the last play that I did, which was, like I said, more than 10 years ago, which was a production of The Jungle Book, which was actually the first play that my son was ever in. And to give you some idea of how long ago this was, he played the dingo, the runt of the wolf cub litter. He's now about to graduate from college, so there's no way he could play that part anymore. But I knew that Toni was attached to it, so I've acted with Toni. One of the first plays that I did when I came to Saratoga, I played Toni's son in a production of Sordid Lives. So I knew that there was at least one person attached to it that I already had a connection with that I would want to work with again. And it was close to my house. So those were kind of the two practical things. And I knew that it was a big cast, so I would be cast as something if I went out and auditioned. I felt strongly that would be the case. So, but playing this part, I have to say, like, it's exhausting. It's really like, I don't think I've ever played a part that is so just like physically and mentally draining the way that this part is. But
I think we all felt that way too. We would watch Bridget and Matt at the end of their performance after every rehearsal. All of the rest of the cast, we'd all look at each other and go, oh my God, I'm emotionally drained, because I just was passing out tissues. I'm like, okay, they're getting ready to do that scene here. Here's your tissue. And I'm not joking when I say that we started our rehearsals right after Christmas. And as many times as they've done this, and they'll verify this, as many times as they've done that, they have me in tears. So, and the students today that came to the matinee, I got some feedback from some of the teachers that I knew. And they said, my God, this cast is amazing. Where did you find your John Proctor and your Elizabeth? They just personify everything that these parts should be. So I think I've done pretty good.
Now, speaking of John Proctor, it's interesting. I feel like there's several avenues lately that have really analyzed this character in kind of a new way.
True.
The biggest being John Proctor is
John
the
Proctor's
villain,
the villain.
right? So did that come into your conversation with approaching that character? Do you feel like he's an anti-hero? How do you feel about him?
Well, I don't really think of him like, I wasn't trying to categorize him. I just see him as a flawed human being, the way that all human beings are flawed. I think any perspective that you take on him in terms of the way that he his interactions with women, I think is probably objectionable to somebody from a modern view, but you're looking at it from a 21st century perspective. So it's easy to look back and, you would never whip your servants in this day and age. That would just be atrocious. But he's a man of his time. So I think that you also have to think like that's a rough life. 17th century Massachusetts, there is a reason why there's this kind of strict adherence to male and female roles, because the men have to go out and make sure that the crop is good and that the cows are being raised, and women have to make sure that the children are surviving and that the house is kept in order, because otherwise everybody starves to death and they die. I mean, it's not like, think about the luxuries that we have that, when I was fairly poor, I still had electricity 24 hours a day. I had a hot shower. I had a roof over my head. I had food. I mean, these are things that the richest person in 17th century Massachusetts, they wouldn't have a hot shower or electricity. So what I take from it is that I'm glad that I was born in 1977 and not 1677. I don't think I would have made it.
You're also performing, you're doing this through the auspices of Homemade Theater. And they've kind of been on the road ever since they were invited to leave the little theater at Spec, which is now the state took back over and it's being redone. And this performance is happening upstairs at City Hall in the theater, Saratoga City Hall in the theater upstairs. How's that all working out? Do I have any more time? Right, yeah.
I had a very distinctive idea for what I wanted my set to be. And I guess that was the English teacher in me thinking about symbolism and metaphors and all that. And I really imagined a set where there were overhanging trees intertwined, and I wanted the light on my actors to cast shadows constantly. And somebody said, well, you know what's going to cast shadows. And I said, that's the symbolism. I said, obviously, the very first witch trials have haunted and overshadowed all of American politics. We have not, traveled too far from any of those behaviors. We are still adamant on accusing everyone that disagrees with us. And sometimes punishing them and taking away their opportunities to live here in this country, and sometimes even taking away their lives, as we have recently seen. If anybody disagrees with the powers that be, this is how it goes. And I said, I want that to be really one of the things that's part of my set. Well, they promised me that could happen until we got into the venue, and we were told we couldn't hang anything from anywhere. And I went, but what about my branches? So we had this wonderful guy who's really never done set design very much. He's in construction. His name is Pete Benfey. And Pete got a hold of an architectural engineer friend of his in New York City, I believe, or someplace far away. And they had a meeting, and he showed him the venue, took pictures and everything. And the guy goes, okay, this is what you do. So we had another construction guy, Jason Whitbeck, whose daughter Lily is one of my witched girls, who got his construction crew together and built this huge canopy wooden structure that looks like a big, huge, oversized tarantula. And we're hanging branches all over the place on this thing. And we had some challenges because we were supposed to be in there at a certain time and they had double booked. And so we had this flurry.
The dance flurry.
Yeah. So we ended up, we couldn't get in right away, and we couldn't get all of the branches put up. And I said, just go with what we have. So we have a set. We have my branches, or at least some of them. They cast their shadows. And obviously, it's not the kind of lighting board or set, it's not what we were used to with Homemade Theater at all. But I think we've pulled it off somehow. So through the magic and just pure passion of my cast and my crew, we've made it happen.
Yeah, and the best thing about this is everyone's a volunteer. So you volunteered, and now you show up and you're bringing these huge set pieces up 3 flights of stairs.
Carrying them,
like physically carrying them. So it's really testament to how this group comes together and puts on a show and makes things happen.
You're
I
muted,
muted
Benita.
the mic because of the dog. Can Homemade stay there? Is that a long-term venue for this theater? Because this is after they left SPAC, the little theater, then they were at the Arts Center, which is the old library, and I feel like there was something in between, and now here.
They did that Pitney, whatever, Meadows or whatever it is. Yeah, they've done that. They're looking for a permanent venue, and they're desperate for one. I think this works to some degree, but there are incredible limitations to what we can do. Obviously, we can't build the kind of sets that we built when we had a set builder constantly at our beck and call. We can't do any of the lighting that we've wanted to do. We kind of end up flying a lot of time by the seat of our pants just to make things happen, and we're kind of testing the waters as we go, saying, "Do you think we can make this happen?" But again, as Bridget said, the commitment to this cast and the nights that I had auditions, I was literally overwhelmed at the people who came out to do this show. I kind of had the same sentiment that you did. This is an old chestnut. Maybe everybody says it's been done to death, and I won't get a lot of people to show up. And we had 2 nights of auditions, and people just, I was losing track. I mean, there were people, so many people I was at, and we weren't in a space dedicated to, private auditions. So everybody was milling about, and I'm like, did I try you? Did I try, and we were trying to shuffle paperwork and everything. And I think one of the interesting things was that the men were more focused on the parts they wanted. I mean, I've never seen men be divas as much as my auditioners were.
Was I a diva? I hope I wasn't diva.
No, you weren't. And that was the funny thing. Matt was like, I'll just do anything. Just cast me in anything. And it was like, I had men literally who said, don't even bother calling me if you're not going to give me this part, if you're not going to give me that part. Interestingly, for the only time this has ever happened to me, every single woman I called, I might say to them, you only have one line. And they were like, I don't care. I just want to be in the Crucible. And it was like, every woman said yes. Everybody was jumping at the chance. And then I had weeks of trying to get all my men in place. And there were 21 characters. So it's a big cast.
Yeah, it's not fair.
No, it's not. It never is.
Wonderful. As we kind of are wrapping up here, so remind us, how much longer do you have?
We have this week, it's through this weekend, so we have another 2 more school shows. We're doing school matinees Wednesday and Thursday, and then open to the public Friday night, Saturday night, and then we end on a matinee on this Sunday, March
I
1st.
have a question for everybody here. Having just finished the show in Albany, at Albany Civic, is a Saturday night done? Sunday matinees get a huge house.
Yeah.
Is it time to do a Saturday matinee instead of a Saturday night?
That's a really good question. I have always thought traditionally that Saturday night was the time, the night that filled the house. And when I first started doing theater, it was. I think we saw that this Sunday. We were adding chairs frantically, trying to, because every seat was taken, and we had 2 or 3 rows we had to add just to get people in. And then there were people that were coming and kind of going along the sides. And that's not a huge venue. It certainly isn't what we had with Homemade Theater, but they packed it on Sunday afternoon. And Benita, there have been times we've done a Saturday matinee and a Saturday performance, and we're exhausted by the end of that night, and then we have to go do a Sunday matinee again. And I sat there thinking about that, because we had to give up our Friday performance because of the weather, thinking, I wish we could have done a Saturday matinee. But as Matt said, I don't think my cast could have taken this. I mean, they were drained by the end of this production.
Well, I was telling everybody I was actually relieved that performance got canceled on Friday. I was just a ball of nerves. I don't know why it was so much better Saturday, but Friday I was just a huge ball of nerves being in front of an audience for the first time in a long time. But Saturday I was better. So
But you got to work it out on Friday.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But
Hmm.
no, I don't think I could do this show twice in the same day.
But I'm not
Yeah.
asking that. I'm asking
Yeah.
to replace Saturday night
Nice.
with a
Yeah.
Saturday matinee.
I don't think that's a bad idea, actually.
I would be open to it.
Yeah, because even
And you wonder if it's the age. I mean, because certainly senior citizens like me would probably be more willing to go out in the middle of the afternoon. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree that it's probably a wise move, but there is still for me something magical about going out to theater on a Saturday night. I love it.
But we would keep Friday night. But it's something I discussed with the folks at Albany Civic. And also, there are some communities where people are reticent to travel
Hmm.
at night.
At night, yeah.
and it's
And
also easier to get childcare during the day than it is at night. Like I would need a babysitter to go out Saturday night.
right.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of stuff. It's a wide open world, kids. So one more weekend. Buy your tickets. Get to
And are your
Saratoga.
and your show is one more weekend too, Bonita?
That's correct.
And I'm pretty anxious to, I've heard nothing but glowing reviews. I'd really like to see that one. I'm kind of
Well,
like committed to my
so come
show,
one
but
night. I haven't been to every one of our shows. You know, it's interesting when and Ellen knows, but when you do a pro show, the director
you don't,
leaves
yeah,
after
you're
all.
done.
It's
Yep,
bye-bye.
yep.
And I've had some stuff going on, and I haven't been able to be there.
Hmm.
I will be there Sunday. That's my game plan. You know, if the creek don't rise. But they'll be fine, Tony. Trust me. You've got fabulous actors. So if you want, come on down. We got a seat for you.
Oh, you're a doll. I'm anxious to see it. I know you do wonderful things, and we'll we're gonna try and make that. Maybe you should do a Saturday matinee just for me.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can get north. Anyway, kids, this is great. Bridget, always fabulous seeing you. Matt, to make your acquaintance now, and bravo, bravo on your show. Tony,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was wonderful talking to both of you. Thank you for doing this, Bonita, and your support. And you know I love you.
Hi, everybody. We are back and we're shifting gears a little bit. We were up in Homemade, and now we're heading down south to Albany to one of the only theaters that actually performs in Albany, which is Confetti Stage.
except, come
Um,
on, Albany Civic.
and
Yep.
well, yes, of course, Albany Civic.
And we've got Adele Scheiber with us, and we should point out, you know, so we were just talking. I know you probably didn't have a chance to hear it. We were just talking with the folks who are doing the Crucible,
Mm-hmm.
witches.
Yeah.
Your whole season is the season of the witch.
Oh, look, somebody read our website. I'll have to tell Brooke. But yes, I'm not on the board, but I'm very close to the board and I joined their fundraising committee and like when we looked at the season and what was chosen, it was like, okay, strong women or magical women. And I was just like, well, you know what people like is a theme and a story. So that was kind of me, Laura Darling, and Marissa Lunello's brainchild was Season of the Witch. Also, it's a great song. So
And with that, so the other shows are The Witch, right? Is that
Mhm.
the original play by Laura Darling, correct?
No,
Oh,
no.
no, no.
So let me head on to that
There's
website.
an original, right?
Witch, yeah,
She's
Witch
doing
is
If
Jen
the Fates
Silverman.
Allow. Laura's doing If the Fates Allow.
Yes, Laura did If the Fates Allow around Christmas.
Right.
That's right.
I have a terrible memory, so I'm pulling it all up here. And then, yes, The Lion in Winter. There's no actual witch in The Lion in Winter, but I like to say Ellen of Aquitaine is kind of a witch. Then it's Witch by Jen Silverman. That's our next show. And then we have Macbeth, which has famous witches, obviously. So
Nice. And you are directing Lion in Winter.
yes, I am co-directing Lion in Winter with Ryan Gangemi, and our assistant director is Shaya Reyes.
Nice. And why Lion in Winter?
Yeah, I'm glad that you told me you were going to ask that because I have a great story. Well, I don't know if it's great, but when I was 13 years old, I had a giant TV in my bedroom. The year was 2003, and I turned on HBO, and Patrick Stewart and Glenn Close were on my television. And I was so confused because remember, this is like before Game of Thrones, before House of the Dragon, before like medieval stuff that also had kind of a drama slash realism. angle to it was popularized in the media. So I'm watching this like medieval thing, and I'm like, I was a huge history nerd when I was a kid, and that sucked me in. And then I was listening to the dialogue, and I was like, wait, this is like if a Sex and the City episode and a Shakespeare play had a baby. Like this is very modern and very intense, and like still somehow there's that like whimsy of it, and that historical backing to it. And so it really just the script really is what drew me in, and I was first exposed to it by the TV movie that was released in 2003. And then of course I watched the more famous one with Katharine Hepburn and Peter O'Toole. My unpopular opinion is I think the Patrick Stewart Glenn Close version is better, but that's just me. um, and then I didn't know that it was a play. I thought William Goldman, who wrote the movie, was a screenwriter. And then somebody was like, that's a stage play, right? And I was like, hold on. And then I rushed and I bought the script from Concord. And I was like, well, wait, how similar is it though? How similar is it? And it's like very similar because he did both. So I was like, I need to direct this. I need to. It's like been my favorite Christmas movie since I was 13 years old.
And it's such an interesting location that you had, the Masonic Temple there. And I saw some of your pictures, and it's like it's such an atmosphere, that space. So talk to me about how the set design and the production qualities all came together in that space.
Well, I really do have to shout out the Scottish Rite Masons specifically because I don't know if you know about the Scottish Rite Masons, but they have a lot of stuff in that building that is exactly from the time period that we are, living in this play, which is specifically 1183, which is the High Middle Ages. It's set in France, Chinon, France specifically, but like the borders were a little squishier back then, mostly because King Henry liked to conquer things. And the Masons were so generous and they donated like to the production. They let us borrow all of this historic furniture, right? So like the chairs, sconces, like all kinds of things. Um, and then the building itself really lends itself to building a castle within it, which is exactly what we did. I mean, like, not to brag, but David Zorinkin, who works for the Collaborative Scene Shop, I asked him to do this 14 months ago. Begged him is the word. He had no idea who I was. I met him at Laura Darling's birthday party, and it was like, "Hi, can you build me a castle? I'll do anything." And he is one of the best I've ever met at stage building and everything. And so, yeah, he built us a castle and then brought it to us, and we assembled it in that stage space this weekend. You can see the dark circles under my eyes. And there's also like this lobby area in the fourth floor. And so Ryan and my vision is very aligned, like spookily, honestly. He's so cool to work with. But we're going for full medieval immersion. Like we're like you get off that elevator and you're in 1183. Like we are going hard on that.
I want to point out something. You gave your set designer props. Toni Anderson-Sommo just gave her set designer props, and they've got all kinds of challenges because Homemade Theater doesn't have a home, and they're performing out of the stage area at City Hall. Ellen is, doing the Da Vinci Code, and the sets that they turn out at Curtain Call are woof. And I'm just wrapping up what we've done over at Albany Civic with the roommates. Yeah. And again, a wonderful, and our set designer, Peter Cantor, was pulling down double duty. He was, working with the folks at SLO.
Yeah, so is David.
Civic. Right. So let's take a moment and just give these folks a shout out.
Yes.
For the work they do.
Yes.
Because the set is, as you just pointed out, Adele, it's integral to creating the environment for the audience to embrace all the other work that goes on.
100%. This would not be the cool thing that it's going to be without those people. And it's interesting you say that. One of the reasons that I submitted Lion and Winter to Confetti to direct, but I specifically said I wanted a co-director, and I recruited Ryan because I'm more of a producer's director, I would like to say. Right? Working with actors is secondary to me, but building the world, and I have a very visual brain, right? And like the costumes, the prop, the set, all that stuff. And one thing that Confetti, by its own admission, it's like producing is hard. It's an all volunteer board, right? And this is like my baby. You know what I mean? Like I've liked this since I was 13. So I went in knowing like, okay, it's really going to be a lot of producing and I'm going to learn how to direct actors, which I've never done before. I'm an actor and a writer, from Ryan. And that has worked out so well because he's great with actors and he hates producing. So
Match made in heaven.
yeah.
And that's another, you guys are doing an oldie. And up at Homemade, they're doing an oldie. So
Yeah.
with all the push for new and never seen and world premiere, there remains a space for classics.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, it's I think it is a classic, but it's very modern. I mean, this script is my favorite script ever because it's so modern. It's so raw and like the things they say to each other in this script, it's like, man, if this was an oldie, y'all were tough back in the 70s because like damn, like this was crazy. This went hard, so yes, and it's actually one of the reasons we're really excited because we get to like invite the Masons, which are a very like traditional organization, you know what I mean, to like see it, and we're like honoring them in the program, and like they were really excited to come, and so like it was a nice way to improve our relationship too with our host building and our host organization. So sometimes old is good.
Yeah. And I'll talk a little bit about your cast. You've got Nelson Jacobs Moore, one of my favorite people in the area. I always say I discovered him because he had like just moved to the area when I cast him in Jump.
Oh,
So I discovered Nelson.
nice.
And you've got Jen Madison. Yeah, so talk to us about like these like iconic characters, work as you said, you're like learning to work with actors and how to direct them with roles that are portrayed by some very famous actors.
Mhm.
What room do you get inspired by those performances, and how much do you let these actors create their own versions?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's definitely something, I mean, directing, the acting side, especially for me, has been a learning curve. Especially when I know exactly what I want, but it's not about just what I want, right? It's about the beautiful alchemy between like what me and Ryan want, what the actors bring, and what we can decide we want together. Um, and one thing I have to say about Jen and Nelson is they are heavyweights. They are so talented, both of them, very experienced. And they came to the table with opinions and ideas. And what Ryan and I came to the table with was, we're not going to tell you what to do, but I want like my first thing like that I was like, Ryan, I really want to do this was as like I come like I said from a writer's background, so I wanted them to fill out like this character arc worksheet. It was just like, where do you start the play? Like, who are you? What are your favorite things? What are your least favorite things? What's the turning point for you? So it wasn't about telling them who their character was, it was about asking them. But then again, with like the history English background, I did want them to be like, okay, but like in the text, where do you see that? You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of how, and it was honestly, they came to it really quickly. Like nobody is doing anything that I'm like, that's not the vision. Like they're, in fact, like all of the actors have found something unique and beautiful in these parts. And what's really crazy is we have a full understudy cast because I hate myself and I'm insane. Um, and we're giving them, and to his credit, Ryan was like, let's do it. If we're not doing the most, what are we doing? And we're giving them their own performance on March 7th because they've been working their butts off and they're really good. And it's a totally different show. Totally different show. And it's just as good, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I did say I'm not one of those directors who's like, oh, don't watch the movies. Do what you want, but like just be able to stand on business with what you decide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're on
you're
mute.
muted, Banana.
Yeah, the dog. What are your show dates again?
Yeah, so we open Friday, February 27th, and then we sorry, I'm really bad with dates. I'm looking at the calendar here. So that's that weekend, the 27th, 28th, and the 1st of March. And then we're doing Thursday, March 5th to Sunday, March 8th.
And we were just talking before we started recording that, including Homemade that we just talked to, Benita's show, The Roommate, I'm in the Da Vinci Code, Adele, you've got Line in Winter. This February time slot is so hard. And we just came
Awful.
from this, well, we're not out of this winter, but like talk about a rough winter for rehearsals and shows. And we've had so much snow and cold weather and
And you know what she
illnesses.
didn't talk about, Toni didn't talk about, she had sickness in her cast too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We
Yeah.
had a lot of sickness in ours. But mostly it was we have people who are driving, like one of our leads, Jeffrey, the guy who plays Jeffrey, Aaron Lambert, driving an hour away from in the north, each way to do this show, which again speaks to the passion of these actors. But like, you just can't ask a volunteer to drive an hour in the snow. Like nothing's worth your life. You know what I mean? So we've had to cancel like 6 rehearsals, but I knew this going in. I knew the winter was going to screw us over. I just had a feeling, you know what I mean? In my gut, winter is coming. And so one might say we had a pretty crazy rehearsal schedule. We had 4 rehearsal days a week on the schedule because we knew we were going to have to cancel, lengthen, like we built in that redundancy. And thank goodness we did because, yeah, it was hard between the sicknesses and the snow.
Yeah. But fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed that the snow does not affect these performances.
I mean, it's gotten it all out of its system now. I'm hoping, darn, it
Oh
was
no,
all
we
week.
still have more coming. But anyway, wishing you a wonderful, wonderful run, Adele.
Thank you.
And may this be the start of many more opportunities to direct.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. So if you're sitting at home, you've been so bored being stuck at home in this cold, you've got this weekend 4 amazing productions to choose from. You've got the Crucible at Homemade. You've got Lion in Winter at Confetti. You have The Roommate at Albany Civic. You have the Da Vinci Code at Curtain Call. So go support theater. And there's even more theater out there.
And remember, in the immortal words of Cabaret, what good is sitting alone in your room?
Real. So real.
Get out, buy a ticket, come see theater.
Beat the seasonal depression. Come watch medieval people fight bloodily.
And with that, thank you, listeners. We'll catch you next time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. Be well.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.